Good morning. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Fran Rossi Szpylczyn, and I work here at the Church of the Immaculate Conception, and I'm very privileged to do so and to be here to offer another reflection as we enter the Triduum. I don't know about you, but it seems like time has been all distorted, and Lent was so strange. It kind of like blew by quickly and yet seems elongated because of the virus and all the changes in our lives. And now all of a sudden, here we are, Triduum. So not only has it been a Lent like no other, but now we enter a Triduum like no other to celebrate an Easter like no other. It's a little sad and it's scary, but as always, God is in all the details of it. And perhaps we might look at what some of the gifts of this time might be. So this kind of distortion of time, many people are at home, and some people are at home and bored, and every cabinet they have is sorted out and neatly arranged. Their basement is organized in a way that would make Marie Kondo envious. And their yard has not a single leaf left on the grass. All the cleanup has been done. I saw in the paper that the local transfer stations have been doing a lively business as a result of everyone having time to do these things. Other people are at home, but working really hard under difficult circumstances. I have some friends who are teachers, and they're adjusting to an entirely different way of teaching to their students of all ages, from little ones through college. So it's a completely different and kind of stressful experience for many of them. Some of us are at home and stressed out because of work concerns, job loss, financial stress. So this time of being at home is a little strange. For me, I've been coming to work safely, I might add. I get in my car in my garage, I drive to work, I sit in my office, which is far from my coworker or from Father Jerry, where none of us are close together anymore, which is different and a little challenging, but work is really busy here, and I'm glad for that. I'm grateful. We have been hearing from so many of you through Facebook like this, or through email or phone calls, lots and lots of phone calls, and that's good because we want to hear from you and we want to be there for you as we travel through this way of the cross in such a different way. Hearing from so many people, and also that includes people we've never heard from before, either locally or from far away. We have people viewing from all over the area, the state, the region, the country, and even other places in the world. We're so happy to welcome you and to hear from you, to be able to help you in whatever ways that we can. So our phones are ringing, the mailbox is full because of just tremendous generosity of so many of you. And I think it really speaks to the fact that what we do all year round and what we see in a particular way at the Triduum is the heart of the Eucharist is a communal act. So even though we can't physically be together, which is a challenge to the Eucharist, it is such a communal act, and that we are here to be one in Christ. And that's why it's hard to imagine a Holy Thursday without Eucharist, which we celebrate the Last Supper, but yet here we are. But I am reminded that community and hope and generosity, those are all another kind of thing that is contagious, and contagious in a good way. So in our sorrow, how do we share our joy? And that is so much of what the 3 days of the Triduum are: Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, leading us to Easter. So here we are. We did kind of settle into our little weird Lent, and we had some new routines about to develop, and now that Holy Thursday is here, it sort of like interrupts our timing and our path. And we feel like we get one flow down and now it has to change. And what will after Easter be like? But right now, let's just stay in these 3 days as we kind of try to get our bearings and modulate ourselves to the rhythm of Christ's journey from the Last Supper and beyond. It's all very disorienting in some ways, and I think that would not be the wrong way to describe what it was like at the time of Jesus, because, he'd been heading to Jerusalem. He was warning the apostles, I have to go to Jerusalem, and hinting at what would happen, or sometimes even being clearer. And no one really wanted to hear that. We don't want our hero telling us that he's going off to die, but we don't realize he's going to rise. Now, of course, intellectually we know this, because we've lived through so many Easters, but we still have a hard time thinking like that. So this sort of disorientation during the Triduum is kind of at the heart of that journey to Calvary. Holy Thursday, we commemorate the Last Supper. It's a meal, our communal meal. The Eucharist is instituted. Eucharist, of course, from the root of the Greek Eucharistia, meaning gratitude and thankfulness. And in that gratitude, we share in that meal with Christ. Holy Thursday, the rituals are so beautiful. The presentation of the oils, and we have the washing of the feet, which is just always such a powerful moment. Always such a powerful moment. If you've ever had your feet washed by another, it is a difficult thing to do, especially when you realize that it is Christ who washes your feet. And it's this gesture of care and of humility. And kind of like I said last week, everything gets stripped away. It's just you, your filthy feet, or me and my filthy feet, misshapen feet, and Jesus tenderly, tenderly, tenderly washing them for us. To think about that is powerful. So we're used to being at Mass, the rich beauty of the rituals and of the beautiful music that washes over us. And it's all perfect, or so it seems, as we think of the songs that we sing, like, Jesus, remember me as you come into your kingdom. But now, a lot of that perfection, and not that that's bad, is again stripped away. This is real. This is very real. And are we ready for it? What's real about this night is that in addition to sharing food, we come to understand confusion and ultimately betrayal. As the apostles come together to celebrate the Pesach, or the Passover, Jesus knows he will be betrayed. Judas betrays him for 30 pieces of silver, a reminder of the draw to material good to the cost of our soul. The disciples follow Jesus to the garden, and they're drowsy. They just keep falling asleep. And Jesus is praying fiercely. And I think we can imagine ourselves in any one of those roles, praying fiercely, or unable to stay awake when we need to be vigilant, the symbol of our falling away, which we all do at times. But we also see Jesus' humanity fully on display. He feels fear at times, frustration, yet he feels courage. He accepts what is. God's will is being done, not as some divine punishment retribution, but rather as a necessary element of the transformation of rebirth. Jesus surrenders. It's like falling softly. Unfortunately, I have fallen a lot in my life. I am a very clumsy person, and I have learned to fall well. I'm not sure I think that's a great thing to have learned, but I have learned how to fall well. I fell in February. I was in Vermont, and I slipped on some ice, and I just relaxed and fell into a snowbank. And that kind of keeps me from getting hurt. I'm not so good at surrendering to anything else, though. But that surrender is kind of at the source of where our courage is. And through our courage, we have hope for new life. So if time seems off, it's because it is here on Holy Thursday. And we are called to be one in Christ, and it feels so hard to do so when we're separated. Tomorrow's Good Friday. We'll really walk with Jesus on the way to the cross, feeling the weight of that cross upon our backs, the sting of the whip, the piercing of the crown of thorns, and ultimately of the crucifixion. We might feel like we're Jesus at particular times, and other times we're Simon of Cyrene, pressed into service to assist the Son of God to carry the cross. Who knows, maybe he didn't really even want to do that, but he didn't have a choice. He too surrendered and then had the privilege of helping Jesus to carry the cross. Jesus had to let go of being God in that sense and letting another help him. And I think about it, if Jesus can let someone help him, why do I have such a hard time with that? But yet I do. It's the same thing as getting your feet washed, really. We don't want, no, I'm okay. But no, Jesus knew that it is in the communal acts of life that we are transformed. Then comes the crucifixion, the nailing to the cross. This wait for death. And at that moment, the earth shakes. The sky turns dark. The temple veil, fulfilling the prophecy, is just torn in two. And it's a reminder of the current suffering of so many people. Illness and other ailments that people still suffer from. They haven't gone away, although every medical person and facility is overshadowed by the demands of COVID-19. But people still struggle with cancer and chemotherapy. People still have heart attacks. Bones still get broken. So it's a tremendous amount of suffering, and Christ is present in all of that suffering. Sometimes it's the crucifixion of perhaps financial instability, isolation, maybe closeness. I was listening to a podcast, and the person being interviewed lived in their 500 square foot apartment with their spouse and a small child. So difficult. So it's so different from a little over a month ago when you could move more freely about. Ultimately, on Good Friday, we find ourselves headed to the tomb, descend into death with Christ. This darkness envelops everything. Death always leads to new life. I said it last week, I'll say it again. You cannot have a resurrection without a crucifixion. They hold each other in balance. And I always think at this time of year of a picture I saw a long time ago, 30 years ago, of a fire that had been devastated, a forest that had been devastated by fire. It was just completely scorched, just little black nubs sticking up on this blackened forest floor. Yet just a few days after that, this picture showed some lichen growing on some hardened fire, just completely fire-destroyed bark. Little green lichen, little sprouts springing up, new life, always persistent, pressing forward. It's like a flower growing up between two cracks in the sidewalk. So life always prevails, light through the darkness. Christ is that light, and that brings us to Easter and the glorious light of Easter, resurrection, new life, transformation, and hope. I read something, and I'd like to refer to it. I think it has to do with that new life. We think that the point is to pass a test or overcome a problem. But the truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together, and then they fall apart. Then they come together again and fall apart again. It's just like that. The healing comes from letting there be room for all this to happen. Room for grief, for relief, for misery, and for joy. Now that is actually a quote from a Buddhist, but I think it encapsulates the heart of what we're doing in these 3 days. We don't solve the cross, we surrender to it. It's part of a dynamic, continuous motion in our lives of dying and rising, grief, joy, all the elements and all the feelings that we've come to know. So it's not so different from what we talked about last week. Only I'm switching the order up. Instead of saying surrender, hope, and courage, I'm saying surrender, courage, and then hope. And that is our Easter joy. We die with Christ and we rise with him. And these days will pass and new days will come. And until that time, we have to hold on, cling to Christ, cling to one another, even if from a safe distance. And know that the new Easter, the new dawn, will always come again, even and especially when it doesn't feel like it. I wish you all a blessed Triduum and blessed, happy Easter, even in these times. Thank you, and God bless you.